Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. Often the queries that I get, some of them or a majority of them revolve around relationships and career, and then finances, and then health. Now, among the queries which come to me, a number of times I find even those people who are followers of astrology, many of them comment in my videos. Some of them have been commenting or following my videos since 3 years or more, and a number of them tell me, especially when they come to consult, that they have been following astrology videos of other astrologers since 6 years, 7 years, and they have been also learning astrology. Yet I find sometimes they make basic mistakes. Sometimes the basic mistakes are done also in analyzing the placements, yogas, doshas, the dashas and the antardashas as well. In this, the majority of time that I find the mistakes or errors is about understanding the dignity of placements, the deeper meaning of placements, dasha, antardasha periods, transits, and understanding the actual strength of the planet. And so when you move away from the basics, what happens? You go on a different tangent, you make grave errors. So I would always tell you to go back to the basics if you want to understand astrology better, rather than get into too in-depth into this placement and that placement and this aspect and that aspect and the Hindu Lagna and the Aruda Lagna, mixing and making a potpourri or a khichdi of everything. Just follow the D1 chart first, understand the dignity of the house lords, understand the placement. After that, go to the Navamsa. After that, everything else comes. But if you're starting off with, I want to look at the Hindu Lagna, I want to look at the Aruda Lagna, I want to look at the Upapada Lagna for a relationship, rather than giving importance to the D1 chart, 7th house, 7th lord, Jupiter for girls, Venus for boys, you will make grave errors. And in this light, many times I find people asking that, I've been told by some other astrologer that I should wait till my 36th year to get married. Is this right? Should I wait till my 36th year? Somebody is in their 26th to 27th year, and the astrologer has asked them to wait another 6, 7, 8, 10 years, sometimes even more. Why should you wait? Sometimes the reason they give is, my astrologer told me that your better time will start in your second half of life. How do you know you will absolutely live to 72 years if 36th year is your middle year? And how do you know that you may not live longer? How do you absolutely know that 36th year is your 50% of your life? What if your life is shorter? Secondly, why 36th year? Now, sometimes they say that it is because of Saturn's maturity and so on. But what about Rahu and Ketu? They mature much later, 44 years, 48 years. They could be the major troublemakers. Then what do you do? So this is a misunderstanding that for some people they should marry only after a 36th year. There is nothing like that. There is no strong condition or precondition or strong slokas saying that if this is the situation, you should marry only after your 36th year. Yes, auspicious results have been said that they may begin for some people because of some placements in the 36th year. But what I have seen is, many times astrologers, just because they see some disturbances in the 4th house or the 7th house or in the Navamsa, they will straight away tell the person, especially if the person has gone through 1 or 2 breaks, you should marry after you have hit 36th year. But why should the person do so? In today's time, there are many relations which go south, especially because the youngsters start much earlier in getting into relations. Parents are liberal, they allow those relations. So sometimes when you're beginning in your teenage years, you don't have the maturity, obviously you may have 1 or 2 breaks even before you reach your 21st or 22nd year. And then once you attain some degree of maturity in your 20s, there may be one more relationship which may go south, which may break. It's okay, it's understandable. It is not so serious that you put off your marriage, you're getting into a committed relationship till your 36th year. And if at all there are challenges, you should find a good period to get together with your loved ones, rather than wait till the 36th birthday. Or from Vedic astrology point of view, if you have reached your 35th birthday, you have already stepped into your 36th year. So why should you wait? I'm going to tell you some few things that which are absolutely basic. If you follow this, however problematic your chart may be, as long as there is no negation of marriage, if you follow these rules, then you will be able to find safer periods when you can get married without the fear of huge disturbance, huge upheavals in your marriage. For example, if Ketu is transiting over your 4th house or 7th house, or you have another malefic also at the same time, such as Saturn for example, or Rahu for example, also transiting over your Jupiter for a lady and Venus for a man, then it becomes an inauspicious period for you to get married. If Ketu is going over your 7th house in transit, Ketu sometimes detaches you from one and reattaches you to another relationship, another result of your life. It may not always be about relationship, it could be about partnership. Over the 4th house, it could be about change of home, not necessarily the relationship or the domestic life. So unless there is another malefic and a longer duration malefic like a Rahu or a Saturn which is transiting over your 7th lord or your 7th house, only then you should have a problem in, or be careful that you may want to avoid that period. However, some periods are very long. Ketu's transit over your 7th house or over your 4th house will be for 18 months. Saturn's transit over any of these houses are for 2.5 years. Then what do? Then you look for a better Antardasha period, or if the Dasha period is good and Antardasha period is also good, then too you can go ahead with the marriage, we can go ahead with the union. But some people may not want to get married, some people may want to just start a live-in relationship. So unless you are living in a house, the relationship is not seen as a socially accepted relationship. If you are just dating, even if everybody knows that you are dating each other and you are spending time with each other, but you are not living in together, till that time, from the zodiac's point of view, you are not in a committed, socially relevant, you have not established the Grihastha-ashrama. The Grihastha-ashrama established when two people start to live together on a regular basis, rather than temporarily getting together or dating, even if society has acknowledged you as a couple. So it's important that if you want to get together, even in a committed relationship, even in a live-in relationship, or through a legal process, or through maybe the traditional way of exchanging vows or doing the Sat Feras or doing the Nikah, it's always better that choose a better Dasha and Antardasha period and choose a better transiting period also. Then avoid the Sade Sati period, especially if you are in your Sade Sati. Then the first 3 years, after you step into the 3rd year, try and avoid that period and the peak period. Out of the 7.5 years, the first 2.5 years is the rising period. So in the 3rd year, which means in your 2.5 years, after you complete the 2.5 years, first 2.5 years, you enter into the 3rd year, you enter into the peak period. So once you finish 2 years of your Sade Sati, from then on till your peak period is over, try and avoid a committed relationship. Then avoid the period of or Dasha or Antardasha of planets which are placed in the 6th or the 8th or the 12th house, or they are the rulers of the 6th, 8th or the 12th house. Especially that is the combination. For example, Dasha of the 6th lord and the Antardasha of the 12th lord, Dasha of the 6th lord, Antardasha of the 8th lord, and so on. Or planets placed in them. Say for example, Venus is placed in the 6th house, Mercury is placed in the 8th house, even if they don't rule the house. But if Venus and Mercury Dasha or Antardasha is on, or Mercury Dasha or Venus Antardasha, try and avoid that period. And then the combination of a combusted and a debilitated planet. If the Dasha is of a debilitated planet and the Antardasha of a combusted planet, avoid that period, or vice versa. Or avoid the period of Dasha or Antardasha of two planets, both of which who are combusted. Avoid the period of Sun or Moon if they are eclipsed by Rahu or Ketu. Then avoid the periods of Dasha and Antardasha of those planets which are in a tough dosha. For example, if you have a Shrapit dosha between Saturn and Rahu, then avoid marrying during Saturn Rahu period or Rahu Saturn period. If you have a Vish dosha between Saturn and Moon, then avoid Saturn Moon or Moon Saturn period. If you have a Papkatari dosha where your Lagna Lord or any benefic planet is between two malefic planets, then those two malefic planets, for example, if your Lagna Lord is Venus and in the one house before Venus you have Saturn and another house after Venus you have Rahu, then during the period of Saturn Rahu or Rahu or Saturn, avoid a committed relationship. And then if you have two malefics placed either in the 4th house or the 7th house or even in the Lagna and to a certain extent in the 10th house, during the Dasha and Antardasha of those periods of the two malefics, avoid the marriage, avoid the committed relationship, avoid getting into a live-in relationship. However, if the Dasha, Antardasha and the transit is not good, is not beneficial to you, for example, a Dasha and Antardasha of two planets which are in the 6th and the 8th house and the transit of Ketu or a Saturn over your 7th or the 4th house, then try and avoid those periods. But if you have to absolutely get married during that period, try and choose a period where the transit of a planet which is benefic is either passing over your 4th house or the 7th house, or in fact even better if two benefics are transiting over, one is transiting over your 4th house, one is transiting over the 7th house. But absolutely choose the transit of a benefic planet which is transiting over your 7th house. For example, Venus, Mercury, Moon, these are, especially Venus and Mercury, they transit every 1 month to 40 days. Especially if they are retrograde, they may take up to 45 days to transit over a house, or they may sometimes 20-25 days also. So depending on what period you are choosing for the transit over that house. So you may wait till that period within the long Dasha Antardasha period. For example, Rahu and Mercury or Mercury and Saturn period is a long period, sometimes 2-3 years also. So if that period is on and the transit is also not good, for example, Ketu is transiting over your 4th house, then wait for a benefic planet to transit over your 7th house. If possible, two benefic planets both are transiting over your 4th and the 7th house, like Venus is transiting over your 4th house, Mercury is transiting over your 7th house, or Jupiter is transiting over your 4th house and Venus is transiting over your 7th house, something like that. If you don't have those transits and those are also going to take time, then at least look at for a positive transit over your 7th lord. If there is a positive transit over your 7th lord, even during tough period, then too the inauspiciousness of the period or the challenges of the transit and the Dasha Antardasha to a large extent are reduced. However, it's always better to choose a better period, the Dasha Antardasha as well as transit, and of course you will also be looking at the Mahurata when to be getting married. So friend, these are some basic rules. Look into those rules, choose these rules. No need to put off marriage till 36th year or 40th year, or this entire Venus Dasha has to be gone, or entire Rahu Dasha has to be gone. Who will wait for 7, 8, 10, 20 years to get married? Don't be a fool, don't be misled by some misconceptions. Astrology is not so difficult. Astrology is not a noose around your neck. Astrology is given for you as a guideline. Even in your most toughest of periods, you can still marry if you are taking care of these small things, like I told you about the transit periods or the Pratyantar Dasha of a benefic planet. That too may help you to be able to reduce the inauspiciousness if you absolutely have to get married or get into a relationship. And some remedies, not of wearing gemstones or mantras, but donations, helping, serving the poor in the light of the planet which is causing those challenges. If you are donating, if you are doing those remedies, then too both the inauspiciousness is reduced and you are choosing the benefic transit or the Pratyantar Dasha of a benefic planet, then to a large extent you can safely go ahead and get married in that period rather than waiting for the best auspicious period. And the last thing, the inauspiciousness in the marriage is not always brought about transits or placements. You are responsible for your married life. Sometimes I have seen people through the toughest of placements, toughest of challenges, yet they have stood together like a rock and they have taken over all challenges in their stride. They have worked together, they have treated each other as friends, they have not put unnecessary, untold expectations on each other. People have been very, very independent during that time, not to trouble the other partner. They have sailed through some of the toughest periods in spite of taking decisions, important decisions like marriage or going for buying a property and so on. So be more rest assured, breathe more easily, and don't make astrology such a big thing that you need to live every moment of your life through astrology. Use astrology as a guideline, follow the basics, everything will be all right, everything will be hunky-dory. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me, the links given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is a friend astrologer and guide, Irfan, signing off. Ciao.